And a good Friday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald back with you. We're so grateful to have you on this Friday night, and we're always grateful to have this dear friend. He is a baseball comrade. He's a friend. I would say he's old enough to be my daddy, but that would offend him, so I won't say that of him. But I will say that he is a good man. Jeemes Akers is back with us. He's been on a little hiatus, but I tell you, I'm so excited to know he'd be with us tonight. And it is good to see you, friend. I hope you've enjoyed your time away, getting away from that snow up in Ohio, and grateful you're back in the saddle, and looking forward to seeing you on the show the next week or two before you take off on another adventure. And, I think I'm going to just come up at your house and hide in your trunk. That way I can stow away when you go on these exotic trips and hang out with you and go live from them places. But good to see you. Jeemes Akers, everybody. Put some fire in that house for him. How are you, sir?
I am doing fine, Chris. Good to be with you and your listeners tonight.
Well, it's good to see you, my friend. It really is. Listen, want to get off the show very firsthand. We got several things to talk about tonight, but I do want to mention Iran because I've had a lot of texts today from folks concerned about the call for these embassies to be emptied and people to go home. And Huckabee even has told the American citizens over in Israel that they need to get on a plane as quickly as they can. And usually when that starts happening, James, that means that, something's up, and we don't know exactly what right now. Trump's not playing his hand. But I want to get your take on this because we had Brad Johnson on here Tuesday, and he seems to believe that it's more of a bluff. But I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that. But I do know that I don't think Trump wants to get us in a protracted war. But you can't let these Ayatollahs get that bomb. You just can't. And I know it's a tough call, but I want to get your take on this to see. And that's what Brad was saying. He wasn't saying that he was, 100% sure that was what was happening. But it is a tough call. He's a tough place right now because you don't want to get the United States in another conflict over there. But it's a catch-22. What's your thoughts on all that?
Well, I told you several days ago that I thought we missed a window of time if we were going to go in with the moral high ground. When the regime was killing its people by the tens of thousands, and we just sort of let that pass. So what you have now, it took time for the Pentagon to assemble an overwhelming strike force. We may have the Israelis with us. The British have denied us the use of their air bases.
I saw that.
And we have some other so-called friends in the region that have been discouraging us from going ahead. I think Trump, this is my view, Trump desperately wanted an off-ramp. He wanted to be able to declare a victory at the negotiating table. The efforts of Weisskopf and Kushner in Geneva produced nothing. They came home very disappointed, just thinking that the Iranians are playing for time. There have been other negotiations in Oman, and the Iranian foreign minister has been involved in those. But again, there are two issues. Number one, we want Iran to completely walk back from its nuclear program, turn over all radioactive materials that they've accumulated, and also that there be no sunset provision. And what that means is that the Iranians want an agreement that will terminate after 2 to 3 years, and so that they can resume their nuclear program, which they claim is for peaceful purposes. But if you're going to have peaceful nuclear energy, then the enrichment level is somewhere around 3.5% to less than 5%. And they are enriching now at a level we think that is certainly above 20%.
Wow.
And the only feasible explanation for enriching at that level is to produce nuclear weapons.
Without a doubt. That's a big jump. If you just said 3.5 to 5 and they're trying to produce it 8 or 9 or maybe 10 even, they could probably take a moral high ground and it would be an ambiguous thing there. But when you're saying 20, my brother, that's 4 times the normal rate. And yes, that's a bomb. I mean, just for the individuals out there that are not sure what we're talking about, that's an atomic bomb. They're wanting some atomic weapons and weapons of mass destruction. James, what do you think is going to happen? Go ahead.
They're wanting the nuclear weapons, and the Americans have been at the negotiating table have been really pressuring the three that they turn over all materials at their 3 key nuclear installations where we hit them earlier, but we didn't destroy all of the nuclear material that could be later on turned into weapons grade material. And so the Americans want a permanent halt to the Iranian program.
It's not going to happen.
The Iranians have not agreed to that, and therein lies, 2 of the sticking points. And it has not allowed Trump to declare victory and walk away from a military action. He's on the horns of a dilemma.
Yes, he is.
Because if he does nothing, the Iranians will trumpet as weakness, and if he does something, we're going to be going it alone, and perhaps with the Israelis. But I would not want to be making that decision right now. It is a tough call. And meanwhile, you have 2 carrier forces, with all the auxiliary ships and the carrier groups that are floating off of Iran at the cost of multiple millions of dollars a day. The window of time, the optimal window of time for an aerial bombing campaign, the Americans, the way we like to conduct these things is we like to go without any moon, and as of last weekend, that window passed for an optimal, to use the advantage of us fighting at night with our stealth aircraft and this, that, and the other. And so there are all sorts of considerations. That window of time will not open again until the middle of next month.
Gotcha.
And so, Chris, it is not an easy decision. The Iranians aren't going to make it easy for Trump, and they are not yielding whatsoever. They're remaining very, very stubborn, and so it is it's a tough nut.
Let me ask you this. Last time he did it in the middle of the night, around 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning Iran time. We're at 10 o'clock, 10:30 Eastern. This was about the time of the night that he did it before. Would it shock you this weekend if something like that happened again quickly, like he did, like not because I think he was giving him 10 days. I don't know if you remember it last week. He said you got 10 days to to come to the bargaining table and make a deal or suffer consequences. And Trump's one of those, James. He's a man of his word. I mean, he will hold that 10-day thing to the fire. We're pushing maybe day 7 of that, day 8. Anything thinking that this may happen this weekend. And let me just throw this little nugget out. We celebrate Purim Monday night. At sundown Monday, Israel celebrates Purim, which is the feast day of Esther, when the Jews were saved in the Persian Empire from extinction by Esther and Mordecai. How ironic and prophetic would it be that something happens in Persia on Monday or Tuesday night? And I guess that's a general question, but do you think this is sooner or later? I mean, and let's just say he bites the bullet and takes the risk and says, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Because I know there's an upside to this, but I also see a downside, and I'm with you. I don't think this is as easy as people may think, and it's just going to, ignite a fuse over there. Things have been rather quiet, and I just maybe think, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm glad I'm not having to make that decision tonight because there's good and bad to both.
Yes, it is. It is easy. It's anything but a cut and dry, easy decision. Even with the overwhelming force that we have gathered there's risk. And my personal view is that Trump is going to continue to play for time and try to get in a negotiating posture, try to get a situation where he can declare victory and without having to use American force.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you what you said a while ago, though. If Trump is expecting them to drop their nuclear program and fully drop it, that's a pipe dream, bro. The Iranians are not going to do that. Look, this is an apocalyptic regime. I hope people understand this, and we've said this before. If this was a normal negotiation with a normal country, I would even say somebody like Russia or China. The Chinese are dangerous, but they're not dumb. They're not going to do a mutually destructive thing. They're not going to do something that they know is going to destroy them too. Neither is Russia. Not so sure about North Korea, but I will guarantee this about Iran. Iran don't care. This leadership in Iran, this oppressive regime, they would just as soon see the Middle East Jeemes go up in smoke and not care about that. And that is what makes this a little more dangerous than just dealing with any other nation in Europe or somewhere else. And am I accurate in that description? Because they've always promised that if America attacks them, they're going to go after Israel. If Israel fights back, then I'm sure proxies are going to start fighting. You're probably going to have a reemergence of the Hamas front, the Hezbollah front. I wouldn't doubt if the Yemenis jump in, and other bad actors that want to see Israel destroyed, because we're the great Satan, Israel's the little Satan, and we're fighting a situation with this ideology of Islam that they want to see us dead. They do not want to coexist with us, and they're just salivating for a reason to go after our greatest ally in the Middle East. Is that a fairly wise view of this, or am I missing something there?
Well, you know that you can certainly argue from the position you just stated, but there are some other complicating factors here. The Ayatollah is completely aware, as are the Iranian military and security organizations, how close that regime came to collapsing.
That's true.
And there was a lot of pressure on that regime. So they have, in terms of what they've been telling their own people, is that they have been making concessions that if the United States would act, it would be purely, a vindictive, unprovoked attack type of a situation. So you have a different domestic dynamic than the mullahs have faced in recent years, and that is a factor.
I get it.
And
I get it.
you have to factor in whether a United States strike, a major strike inside of Iran, worsens or improves that situation. So this is just not an easy decision, and your point is very well taken. These mullahs are people that don't care, that they have an apocalyptic view
Of the world.
where they welcome
war.
war.
They do.
They welcome war because they think it's going to just push the world closer to the appearance of the Mahdi, and especially the Shia that run Iran. So it is a tough situation for American policy. And then you mentioned Huckabee a few minutes ago. Huckabee went on Tucker Carlson and gave pretty much the conservative view that the Israelis were entitled biblically to the land from sea to sea. And today, you had the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, put the clamp on all of any of the ambassadors speaking in a way that endangers Trump's negotiating posture, and it was directly aimed at Huckabee.
Wow.
and his comments.
I did not know that.
Yes, that's a very interesting situation. How long Huckabee is going to remain? There was the Christian community that strongly supported Trump in the election, sort of pressed Trump to appoint Huckabee. It's going to be interesting to see, regardless of what happens in Iran, what happens with all of that, because Huckabee's daughter did not support Trump in the election, and she is very popular in her own right in Republican circles. And so there are all sorts of not only geostrategic, but there are all sorts of political implications to this decision in the Middle East. And then you have Pakistan.
You got that to talk about. Go ahead.
Today or yesterday, that hit Kabul and said in Afghanistan, starting to target the Taliban, and said enough is enough. We've had enough. These people act the way they're acting. They're causing a problem inside of Pakistan. They're supporting terrorists within Pakistan, and so you have that sort of Muslim attacking Muslim, and the Middle East tonight, as we're talking, is just one giant furball.
Well, I've got the article up in Gateway Pundit, and you're right. It says Pakistani forces targeted at least 22 locations in this open war. And again, I'm not trying to make light of this. Look, and it goes back to sort of the statement that Trump made at the State of the Union, and I want to talk to you about that tonight since we hadn't talked in a while. But Trump was sort of bragging about the wars that he stopped in Pakistan and India. Was on the brink here just about 6 or 7 months ago. They were talking nuclear exchanges with each other, and Trump got them off the edge. But isn't it shocking to you that Afghanistan pops up again? Because it makes you wonder what in the world provoked that. Because there was no indication there was any bad blood between the two nations. But I think it goes to your point of how volatile that Middle East situation is, that at any time we can wake up and we can have these conflicts like this, Jeemes. And the other thing that bothers me a little bit, what you just said about Rubio, if they're coming down, I'm going to say this and I'll get your take on it. If the administration comes down on the side of Tucker Carlson in that interview, because that interview took place this week, it took place Monday, I think, Monday or Tuesday. J.D. Vance basically came down on the side of Tucker. He said, well, that was a spirited discussion, and there was nothing in it that I felt like was bad. And all Tucker did was run down Israel, run down the Jews, mock Huckabee's stance on biblical right to the land. And if Rubio's out there tonight rebuking Huckabee for what he said, and for the sake of saving some Gaza peace board that I don't think is worth the paper it's written on, and I know Trump's trying, but that goes back to the thing that gets him in trouble all the time, James. That's his ego. And I got news for Trump. I don't think, my personal opinion, he's got to have, if there's any hope for these midterms, the Christian community, the Christian vote, the evangelical vote, they have got to get to those polls in force in November. And stuff like this, all this does is leave a sour taste in their mouth. And he cannot afford to have any more enemies than he already does in D.C., brother, politically. He's got to have his whole base. And stuff like this irritates. I think it irritates the base myself. Now, you may have a different take on that. What's your view on that? I don't like Marco Rubio doing that, and I'm shocked a little bit that he would come down on the side of Tucker too.
Well, I don't think they're coming down on the side of Tucker Carlson. I think what the logic is that by Huckabee speaking sort of his mind and supporting a no-holds-barred Jewish position that they're entitled to the land, which inflames every Arab country in the region, that does damage to Trump's negotiating posture when things are at a very sensitive stage right now. It's not support, in my view, it's not support for Tucker Carlson as much as Huckabee and other ambassadors. Before you say anything, please be cognizant of how delicate things are in the Middle East right now. I think that was more of the warning message
but
rather
James,
than support for Tucker Carlson.
I understand what you're saying, but in all fairness, Huckabee was right. Huckabee is right. And the way Tucker was, and I could care less about the Arab view. I mean, the Arabs have their land. Look, we look at a map, and Israel's the size of a thumbnail, and they're surrounded by almost 1,000 miles of Arab land, and they're still trying to get Israel off of the little slip of land they've got. And I'm with Huckabee on this, and I'm going to say something very spiritual, and I don't mean to. I take that back. I do mean to sound spiritual about it. I'm going to tell you something. If Trump, he's playing with fire to let the Arabs dictate the terms of this Gaza peace board. He's playing with fire. And again, I love my president. I think he did the most magnificent job Tuesday night in that State of the Union speech. But this is a dynamic with Israel that is different than any other issue he's dealing with. He has got the magic touch, it seems, on the economy. He's got a blessed touch with some of these issues that we are standing against, with him trying to fight the gender mutilation thing and the legal situation, the lawlessness in this nation. He's standing up to it. I applaud him on everything, wholeheartedly, 1,000,000%. There's just something, a blind spot. And he's not the only president, so I'm not saying it's just him. Every president we've ever had has been blinded by the Arab world and blinded by the promise that the Arabs are going to play fair if we cause Israel to give up their land. James, we've done this for 40 years, man. It's not worked. They don't want coexistence. They want to see Israel destroyed. And I got a dear friend, Bill Federer. He said to me on this show just probably a month ago, I asked him the question. I said, what about these moderate Muslims? And he laughed. He said, let me tell you the difference in a moderate Muslim and the jihadi Muslim. He said, the jihadist Muslim believes that Islam is going to take over the world now. The moderate Muslim believes Islam will take over the world later. There is no such thing as a moderate Muslim that likes Israel. None of them do. None of them. They may coexist. So, I mean, again, I'm just saying, I'm with Huckabee. And Trump's better. I think that he needs to rethink what he's doing. And I'm not saying that we give Israel a carte blanche check, because I know there'll be people out there thinking that's what I'm saying. That's not. But what I am saying is that we're allowing the fox in the hen house, and we're letting the fox dictate the terms of some kind of worthless peace accord that's not going to last past the time my hat comes off my head tonight. And maybe I'm being a little simplistic about it, but get me off that soapbox. Get me off that soapbox ledge.
I'm with you. I am trying to explain why Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance, by the way.
Yeah, J.D.'s at it too. He's at it.
To have the posture that they have. I agree wholeheartedly with Huckabee. The Bible clearly gives the Jews the land from the sea to the sea, and their spiritual ancestors, by the way. But I have watched Muslim countries for years, and you know, I'm under no delusion about their motives and their hatred for Israel. It goes. It's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 year antagonism, and it's not going to change for the convenience of American policy. And so. And I agree with you that Trump has a real danger point here, and he may threaten the most secure part of his base
I
in
think
terms of the upcoming elections. And he has to be, all of that factors into how delicate decision-making is in the Middle East these days. And as you properly pointed out, one administration after another has completely fumbled the ball on American policy in the Middle East.
In the Middle East.
And we're paying the price for it.
We are, buddy. And again, they've done this same pattern. Look, I'm okay if they just try something that worked, but they use the same playbook every time. Land for peace, concessions for Israel for peace. And let me remind our administration tonight, let me remind the world, let me remind our audience again. And granted, this didn't happen under Trump, it happened under Biden. But James, I was over there in January, man, and this country is still reeling from October the 7th. The businesses they're going bankrupt right now as a nation. The economy took a hit that most nations I don't think it's anything other than just God's mercy on that nation right now, that Israel is even able to pay his bills. Because there was not a person I talked to over there that didn't tell me this. Even our little cheer group that was over there, we would go into a store and we'd buy things from them. And I'll never forget one store. I thought, I've never, this young lady was almost in tears thanking us for buying goods from them. And I asked our tour guide, Pastor Hendricks, I said, what was that about? And he said, listen, and our tour guide, Amir, said the same thing. Amit, he said, y'all do not understand and underestimate every dollar you're spending here during these 10 days. he said, you're literally financing our nation right now because the tourist industry's gone, a lot of industry's gone, a lot of things that y'all take for granted. He said, because of October the 7th, he said, we are struggling right now like we've never have. So I don't know why we want to pile on to that and just put another burden on Israel and have another bullseye on its back. And I know we could talk about this all night, and I got some other things I want to talk with you about. But I think you're right, and I think that we've just had this pattern. It goes back to Nixon. It really goes back to Nixon and that Yom Kippur War in '73. If anybody's ever watched that movie, Golda, it is a great movie about what was going on behind the scenes with Henry Kissinger and Nixon and Ford, then Reagan. Reagan, not so much, but there were times Reagan would sort of do some weird stuff with Israel. But Carter, who did nothing but betray Israel, I mean, stuck a knife up their back, stuck a knife up Menachem Begin's back to accept that Egyptian peace deal, and that peace deal is stuck, but Israel paid a price for that. We got the Gaza Strip because of it, James. They got the Gaza Strip, and all that's happened with the Gaza goes back to the Carter years. And then Reagan, and then Bush Sr., the first Land for Peace president. I could name it, Clinton. Speaking of Slick Willie, we're going to ask you about him, but Bush Jr., Obama. Trump's the only point I thought would maybe look at the past and say, this has not worked. Let's try something else. But that's all I got to say. I'm very concerned about it tonight. I'm not saying that I'm not mad at the president about it. It's his call. That's why we elected president. But I will tell you this: he's playing with something that's above his pay grade because it's a spiritual matter. It's the only nation in the world that it's a spiritual issue about. That's just my take. All righty. Enough of that. See, you come back, and I get myself in so much trouble, Akers. You sit at the beach and you stay quiet and let me do all the heavy lifting on the show tonight. And so I'm used to this. But anyway, I'm laughing at you. Listen, I do want to ask you about that speech Tuesday night. I thought it was one of the best State of the Union speeches we've ever had. The hockey team, man, I tell you, I'm so proud of these boys. The left is melting down. The Dems are melting down. Naomi Rapace, or whatever her name, not Rapace, but the lesbian soccer player that, she was out there calling the team clowns because they went to the State of the Union. The girls hockey team is sort of biting off the woke apple too. And I think it's disgusting that they they're not downplaying the country, but the insinuation is they don't think they've got time to go to the White House. And when I see these teams do this, it's such disrespect for the office. It's disrespect for our country. And but I want to get your take on the State of the Union. And how about them U.S. men's hockey team, first gold medal since 1980, man, the Miracle on Ice.
Yeah, no, they did a fantastic job, and of course, I am of the opinion that it's about time that a sports team in an international venue showed how proud they were to be American. Period. I was all for him calling them into the Congressional Hall. It was about the only time he could get the Dems off their seats and standing. And it was a tremendous accomplishment for the hockey team. I love their patriotism.
I do too.
And as for the State of the Union address, I thought it was Trump's very best speech.
I do too. Were you shocked at the Dems bit? I tell you, he led them off a cliff Tuesday night. I've never seen a more masterful act of him leading a political party off the cliff. And when he made them stand up or basically put it out there that one of the most important things about government is that we protect our citizens, and if you're committed to protecting American citizens over illegal aliens, stand up. And only John Fetterman of the Democrat Party stood up. Bro, that's a campaign ad, my friend. That's a campaign ad between now and November. I'd be playing that every day. If I was a Republican National Committee, I'd be playing that ad every single day, every single minute, man, and airing it all over this country.
I agree. I thought it was a masterful stroke. I thought whenever he would turn to all of them that were sitting on their hands and would say, "You can't even stand for this."
I know.
I thought he scored major points. He certainly scored major points with his own base, and I hope he scored points with the independents. It clearly showed the difference.
Well, I put it like this: he scored with CNN because both CNN and CBS, their polls were like 75-25, and his approval rating jumped nearly 9 points. He was at 42% going in, and there was a story out today in one of the newspapers that I read online that his approval rating jumped from 42 to 51%. And presidents don't get that kind of bump usually from a State of the Union, but he did Tuesday night. Now, I've got two more other things I'm going to share with you because we're going on an hour, and I want to be able to get you. We don't want you to your milk and cookies to get warm. Get stale tonight. Yeah. See, that's why I love you and Johnson. I can rag with y'all and not have a CIA agent show up at my house and me not be seen again. Anyway, tell us about this Anthropic situation where Trump today. I know a lot of people may have heard about this, and they said, "What in the world is Anthropic AI?" Because he basically stopped the Department of Defense from using it, and you were telling me before the show that this was how they tracked down Maduro in Venezuela, and you can sort of condense it down. I know it takes us a whole show. We might just do a whole show on it next week, but basically what Trump is concerned about is the AI thing and the DOD, because that's is that going to hurt the DOD, do you think, or help them, or where? Because you deal a lot of missiles, or what do you even call them? Missives. I knew it was some. I knew it was MISSI something. So missives. But you do a lot about writing about AI, and you've been sounding the alarm about this. But now it's gotten into the Department of Defense, and Trump put a stop to it today. What was your thoughts on all that, and where does this go?
Well, Trump didn't put as much a stop. He's sort of sitting on the sidelines on this one. The bottom line is that today's modern military has to have AI. We are entering a drone autonomous weapons systems that function on AI, and one of the few things Vladimir Putin was right about, he says, whoever wins the AI war will control the world.
Right.
And so you have the military making major investments in AI. In particular, they have come to an agreement with Anthropic, and the Claude is their version of AI that the military has become heavily dependent on. It did things in terms of the Venezuelan dictator and helped plan all of that and played a major role in arranging the logistics, the timing of things. And so the bottom line is the Pentagon needs AI. Okay. What the Pentagon wants to do is to use AI in what it calls any lawful means. Whereas the tech titans that control AI, including the CEO of Anthropic, wants to have sort of a bargaining position as to the circumstances where their AI will be used by the military. And so push came to shove this past weekend when the military said, in the event of a nuclear attack, can we use AI as we need to without any constraint from those that control the AI in a crisis situation? And the CEO of AI refused to commit to doing that. And so now you have sort of an all-out bidding war between all of these various AI tech companies for all these Pentagon contracts. And it's a philosophical and political difference. Some of these CEOs of the AI high tech firms are staunchly Democratic, including Anthropic, and others. I would put Musk in this category. Are very pro Pentagon and pro what Trump's trying to do, and so it is for those that are watching this industry, and the point is, AI is absolutely critical to the future success of the United States military, and right now they're battling it out on whether the producers of the AI can control its use or whether the military can use the AI for what it deems to be any lawful purpose. And it is a tremendous argument. It is fascinating to study within the military industry itself.
Very intriguing stuff. Well, I do want us to do a show on that maybe next week or the next, a full show on the AI situation again. We did one night here recently, but I do believe it's going to be a frontier, Jeemes, that's going to have to be monitored and I don't know if the word regulated is right, but I do believe there are pros and cons to it because you don't want the computers running the world. And, we've already got that already, man. We already can't even talk to a human being anymore. Everything is being done by machine. And I've always felt like it's a dangerous slope we're on. But, again, there may be some benefit to it. I don't know. But we'll keep an eye on that. And we know we've got you to lean on to give us your expert opinion. And those missives are really good about it. I encourage people to go to your website. Listen, a couple of the quick things tonight. I wanted to get your opinion on Bubba's testimony today. Slick Willie is how we call him. Hillary's already said that she's never met Jeffrey Epstein. Bill said today that he was not aware of any of Epstein's crimes that he was aware of. And I'll be honest with you, I know I'm probably being a little snarky about this, maybe just a tiny bit sarcastic, but it reminds me of the day that he got his hand caught in the cookie jar with Monica Lewinsky, and he did in that great disposition, he said, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman," or something like that. Did you believe a word he said today on the Hill, that he was not aware of any of the crimes that Epstein was committing?
I really don't put a whole lot of what is he going to admit to? Yeah, I had underage women on the island in my room, and with three or four others. Is he really going to? Do we expect him to admit to that?
Oh, no.
No, he's not. He's not going to admit to that, and it may not have happened. He doesn't have a track record that you can trust him on these sorts of things. But my opinion, let me give you my opinion of Bill Clinton. I thought Bill Clinton was one of the most gifted politicians to ever hold the office of president. He could have gone down in history as one of the greatest presidents ever. He had the political tools to do it. He was willing to listen to advice and change tact when it was obvious in his political interest to do so. And he had one flaw: he couldn't keep his zipper up. That kept him from being one of the greatest presidents ever, and so it's all come home to roost with all of this with the Epstein situation. But the to me, all of these people are going to slide by without any consequence. You know, but it is the girls that were manipulated, took advantage of, some of their lives ruined forever. That just seems to get lost in all of this. It becomes a political sideshow. They obviously called Bill Clinton, a former president, to testify, setting a precedent whereby if you have the Democrats that gain control in the midterms, they're going to be calling Trump
Yep.
To testify on a regular basis. I mean, you don't have to have a crystal ball to see that coming down the road, and so it's turned into just a giant furball, and Bill Clinton remains one of those intriguing characters that just got captured by his own lust.
Well, I'll put it like this: he's probably going to be sleeping on the garage door for about 6 months because of this statement I've got on the screen right now. He said under oath today because Comer or one of them asked him about Trump. And the quote here, and this is a quote, this is out of Breitbart, that President Trump has never said anything to me to make me think he was involved. And Clinton basically told the panel today that there is no evidence that he has seen that Trump was ever involved, and he did know Jeffrey. But he said, I just didn't know about his crimes, which I don't believe that, but that's either here nor there. So I think it contradicted Hillary the day before because she's been throwing Trump under the bus all week. And I will tell you this, James, I'm with you about what's going to happen in November if the Dems take office. But I'll tell you something else Trump needs to do. He needs to get him another good lawyer. He needs to sue MSNBC or MS Now. He needs to sue Sonny Holston on The View. There have been 2 reporters this week literally come out and say that Trump raped a 13-year-old girl without any proof. And they use these redacted things on that Epstein list, that his name was on there so many times, and that they've got this source that's claiming that they were there when Trump did this. If I was Trump, I would unleash unmitigated you-know-what on the whole bunch. And this is what frustrates me with the right. We let the left do this to us. And it's not about revenge. But if we don't stand up to the lies, eventually, it's going to destroy the whole operation to keep this country sane and keep this country free. And, going back to the State of the Union, I would have put Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib out there in the parking lot with Al Green when they started screaming at Trump. The way I look at it, if you're not going to respect the country enough, if you're not going to respect the president enough, if you're not going to respect yourself enough to just keep your mouth shut while he's talking, then don't come. And I look at this today with Clinton. I'm with you. It's turned into a sideshow. And I got one other question for you about the Epstein thing. Where do you land on this? Because there's a part of me that I just keep trying to beat my head against the wall as to why we're still talking about Epstein. I know people claim it's about the victims, but Jeemes, ultimately, can we do anything for the victims at this point? Epstein's dead. Jeffrey Epstein's dead. And I know that the people say, well, there were people involved with him, but you got to prove it. You got to prove it. And I'm with you. I don't think that there's a seriousness about proving it. I look at these hearings this week. I mean, if you're just going to get hearings and get Bill and Hillary on there for a soundbite, or so you can go out and campaign, I don't like that. If you're going to be serious about getting to the truth, put some people in jail. That's how I feel about it. How do you feel about that? And we'll wrap this up here in a minute.
Yeah, no, it's sort of a strange thing that has developed political legs where there shouldn't have been, and the sad truth of the fact is that on Capitol Hill and among the moneyed, the political, the economic elites, there is sexual corruption that is absolutely disgusting. And this is not going to get us 1 iota, 1 millimeter closer to unraveling that, which is, at the end of the day, as so many other issues that we talk about, it is about spiritual integrity. You know, it's not about political labels. It's not about left or right. It's about this country has lost its political integrity and its spiritual integrity. And Epstein, the whole sordid story, it illustrates that in spades. You had all the moneyed elites that were involved in that thing. Look at Bill Gates, what it's done to Bill Gates.
Yes.
You know, who had to distance himself from Epstein, but then had to confess that he had affairs with Russian women. It's, you know, it is. You know, what the Bible says is right, what I believe. I heard this preacher says this all the time. And what it says isn't right is what I oppose. And we have got to get away from this sort of selective morality and selective integrity in this country and start living like we believe what we say we believe.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'll amen that, and 1,000,000% tonight. I'm just this whole thing just reeks of what you just described with Epstein, the corruption at the highest levels of government. Look, it's affected the UK. It's going to affect others here in America. I just hope, if there has been criminal wrongdoing, and there have been big name people that have went to that island and raped these girls, that justice comes to them. I'm so sick of this show. I'm sick of this, again, this big talk by the Republicans, and then nothing's done about it. And if what they're doing is for sound bites, then I just wish they just shut it down and move on from this, because they're not going to get justice for these victims, James. I don't see them doing it. And again, if you're going to hang somebody out to dry that was affiliated on that list, there's a lot of names on that list that did not have anything to do with the island. There's a big difference in being on that list and actually being on that island. And look, there are pictures of Bill Clinton with underage girls, and you know, there's pictures of him with Epstein. You know, at least he didn't lie about that today. I mean, he said, I knew him, but was not aware of the crimes. But there are pictures of him, including one we've got up right now, and that's an underage girl. They had to basically black her face out, sitting on Bill's lap, and then there's another one of him in a hot tub, and there's possibly an underage girl within there. Well, that is criminal. And who gave him those girls? Likely Epstein. And again, we can't prove that, but again, you just start going more dirty, sordid. And I think we just all want to take a bath on this. That's how I feel right now. I want to take a bath because I'm just sick of hearing about it. And we wouldn't be hearing about it now if Donald John Trump was not in that White House. You wouldn't hear a thing about it. But they're trying to pin this on Trump, and they can't do it. They can't do it, and they won't do it. But if I was him, these people that are accusing him of doing this, I would sue them. I'd sue them. And I'll just leave it at this. Hey, one other quick question. Do you believe that this Mexican situation with these cartels is going to get worse or better? Do you think that the Mexican government is going to stop these dangerous cartels? I know this shooting that we did. I put it like this. We didn't do pagers down there. We just blew them out. We're not sending pagers down to Mexico. We're just bombing them in the night, killing them in their bed, killing them on boats. We don't send we don't give no warning. We just go ahead and bomb them out of them straight up, man. But it has created a very dangerous situation in Mexico. What's your thoughts on all that? And we'll wrap this up tonight.
Well, the Mexican situation is just you have basically these cartels, and it wouldn't even be an issue in the United States if we didn't have a drug culture here that supports these people, but these cartels are just running rampant. The government can't control them. I mean, in the past several years, there have been when a judge decides to take action against these cartels, the night they are a lawless a bunch that have incredible wealth because Americans are buying drugs to use, period. And now we just have an impossible situation on the border. I had a friend here that used to be in drug enforcement, several overseas positions, and this, that, and the other, and I'm gonna make a stretch that many of your people may not want to hear, but this whole thing with the kidnapping in Phoenix,
Guthrie, yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
And Guthrie and I think Nancy Grace was on tonight, maybe Hannity or somebody's show, and it's looking more and more like this was a drug group initiation type of a thing. I'm not sure they're ever going to find this lady. I think they probably took her back across the border into Mexico and just threw her in the ground someplace. It was a pure gang style initiation to sort of test their loyalty type of thing, and it's just a tragic situation that the only way that they're going to get any sort of closure on it is if these great big rewards, turn out to have somebody from the inside sort of rat on what was going on, and it is all coming together. We have gangs in this country that for whatever reason, protected by the left, that are operating with a system of pure lawlessness within our own borders.
Without a doubt.
And it's just and if Trump takes forceful measures, you know, then it's like he's exceeding his power. Well, his executive authority to try to stem all of this poison that's coming into this country, and it's getting worse and worse. You're starting to hear about all these young athletes that are dying uh, at a very young age, and they won't say what the cause is. The cause is drugs, and in a lot of these cases, and we have got to do something to stem the flow of drugs into this country, and Mexico is at the pivot point of all of that.
Totally agree, man. Hey, I said this was the last question, 60-second question. Did you support or think the Supreme Court dropped the ball? I will say this about the State of the Union, too. I was proud of the fact that Trump did not make their decision the main focus of his speech. He spent about a minute on it. He just said he was disappointed, as any president, I think, has a right to say, but he didn't get into name calling. He didn't get into trashing the court, which I think he handled that extremely well Tuesday night. But I think the decision itself, Jeemes, was bad because Kavanaugh in the dissent basically said, y'all are trying to mince words here and make logistical arguments about something that he's going to turn around and still keep these tariffs on these countries, and which he did. But what was your thoughts about the Supreme Court getting involved in the tariff situation? Because is it getting to the point that the courts are making policy now instead of the executive and legislative branches of our country?
Well, if I went to law school, and law school from which judges are educated, we used to have sort of a joke that the people that made A's in law school went on to be professors at law schools. The people that made B's went on to be judges. The people that made C's in law school made enough money to support A and B. And you know, so what you're talking about is a system of education that has gotten away from the basics, in my opinion, the basic fundamentals of what law should be, into all of these social engineering areas, and what is going to happen eventually is that these judges are going to make such outrageous decisions that are totally out of step with what the people want, that you're going to have people just totally ignore anything that the judges decide. I think that's where we're heading.
No, that's a great point.
And in my opinion, they have made that bed themselves by all of this experimentation, getting into social engineering, rather than the pure precedent of law, which is needed. And what we are seeing is the deterioration of the greatest legal system in the world, based on Judeo-Christian values. Well, those values don't hold up in society anymore. And the courts are just following suit with all of that. And what is going to happen is that what was once the envy of the world is going to be the laughing stock of the world.
That's a great point, man. I couldn't have said that better. Well, buddy, listen, you've outdone yourself tonight. I want to thank you for staying up with me, and we're going to get you back on next week, maybe twice, to make up for your vacation week. You don't get any free time off on the McFiles, Akers. I'm sorry. And don't be sending me a bill for your vacation and say, this is I need vacation pay for my time away from your show. So don't expect any kind of reimbursement for that. But I tell you what I will do, since you're such a valuable guest and a friend, we are going to have some hot dogs at that Reds game this spring, because I will come up and buy you a couple hot dogs this year And, we're going to have a good time watching those Reds play baseball this year. They're going to be better. The Braves are going to be better this year. So it's going to be a good baseball season. It's right around the corner. And it's, I think, after what Ohio has experienced in the Northeast with this snow, I think the sound of baseball in the spring is music to everybody's ears.
Yeah.
Because it's been a brutal winter, man. It's been a brutal winter.
The crack of the bat will be a most welcome sound.
Yes, it will, man. Listen, I appreciate you. And I want to tell you, I deeply appreciate your friendship and your faith and your insight on these things. And we will have you back here Monday night or Tuesday again. We're going to be talking about anti-Semitism next week. So we'll get your take on all this, what's going on. And God bless you, friend, and hope you have a great night. I really do.
Blessings, Chris, to you and everybody that's listening.
God bless. Jeemes Akers, everybody. Have a good night, my friend. Have a good weekend.
Good night.
Jeemes Akers, everybody. Good to see him up tonight. And he didn't have to stay up this late with us, but he did. And I'm grateful for him. I hope you are too. Got some pretty good comments in the house. And Mark, I'm going to address yours first. Good to see you tonight. Mark Kaysen says, I wonder if Trump would go ahead and testify in the Epstein situation. Would that make it go away? Mark, I'm going to say it like this. I was thinking about your question as we were getting ready to sign off with James. If the Democrats would treat Trump with the fairness that Comer and the Republicans treated the Clintons with, it might. But see, that's not what's going to happen. If Trump gets under oath, they will be scouring his testimony with a fine-tooth comb, and if he gets one word wrong, if he says something that's slightly off, and Trump sometimes ad-lib stuff, I don't think it's going to make it go away. No. I think that there will be people in the media that will twist what he's saying. There will be people in Congress that will twist what he's saying. Ted Lieu tonight, the loser from Hawaii, is out there already saying that if the Dems take power in December, they're going to subpoena him in this Epstein case. When you had a former president tonight literally say, I have no evidence, and he knew Epstein, even though he wasn't aware of the criminal activity. He said, I've not heard anything that would indicate that Trump's involved. You would think that would put it to bed. It didn't. Nancy Mace tonight interviewed victims behind the scenes. Nancy Mace she's a Republican, but she's actually no friend to Trump. I mean, she's not a big fan of Trump. And there's a lot of things she disagrees with the president on. Well, she came out tonight and said that in talking with the victims, she said, I believe that President Trump has been 100% exonerated, that he had nothing to do with this Epstein situation, which we already knew. And, buddy, I wished in a perfect world what you're saying would happen. It should be that, but I think Trump's handling it the best he can, is just be quiet about it and let these losers run their mouth. But I would sue MSNBC and Holston on The View, because that's nothing but slander, defamation of character. It's nothing but lies. And see, this is our society. People do that all the time, and they never are held account, so they keep telling more lies. And people make decisions on other people. And folks, most of the people in this country, some of the people that don't like Trump, don't like him based upon what they're hearing in the media. They don't even know who Trump is. They couldn't tell you 3 things Trump's done policy-wise. They'll get some kind of beef with him or some kind of vendetta or knife to grind, and they'll go to town and start accusing him of everything. Trump's been called the Antichrist. He's been called everything else, and you got Christians doing it. But let me tell you this. In a perfect world, I would say your suggestion would be a good one. Just nip it at the bud. Go in there. Tell them I had nothing to do with it. If you were dealing with a bunch of fair brokers that really was wanting the truth, that would work. You're not. You're not. So, no, I don't think it'll go away. I don't think it'll go away at all. Even though that's a good suggestion. Mary, you say, are Christians going to stop to think about intent? I don't think they will. I think this could totally backfire. And Mary, I'm with you. I think that this is a bad look for Rubio, and I like Marco Rubio. I think he's been one of the best Secretary of States we've ever had. But I'm sort of tired of this. Let's protect this deck of cards of this peace treaty and a peace initiative that's going to fall flat on its face. And I'm not trying to be negative about it, but you can't build a lasting peace with Israel always being the one to give up the goods and give up land to appease a bunch of terrorists and killers and thugs that want to see her run into the sea. And I don't know how we can be so stupid, and I hate to use that word tonight. I don't see how we can be stupid enough to believe that the Arab world really wants peace after what we've seen over the last 2 years. And look at how Hamas has been treated. Qatar, Iran right now, an Arab power. I mean, for goodness sake, what more has to happen for us to understand that Islam is not our friend? You've got Islamic cells in this country tonight. If they had the ability to do it, and I'm not sure they don't. Maybe they're waiting for the moment, but you've got enough cells in this country to do some terrible damage. I remember Paris in 2015. I don't know if you all remember the Paris terrorist attacks. And I was actually in Pigeon Forge that night, and I never will forget when the news, I was sitting in a restaurant of a friend that owned a restaurant over here in the hills. We had done some pictures for him. The Paris attacks were a shock to this world, and it put a face on Islam. Those were Islamic jihadists that attacked the city of Paris. The city of Mumbai was jihadism. It was Muslims that attacked that hotel in Pakistan, or India, not Pakistan, but India, Mumbai, India. And it just, every time we get a major attack, it's, and not every Muslim is, I would say, a terrorist. But what? You go back and do a research of the last 20 years, look at the terrorist attacks that we've had. Folks, you're talking 99% to 1. And you can't escape that. I don't care how we try to wrap that up in a bow, how we try to not be discriminatory against Muslims. Nobody's being discriminatory against Muslims. Facts are facts. The same thing about crime stats. Look, crime stats are crime stats. If a certain race is committing more of the crime, you can't wrap that up in a bow. You're not being racist for saying this demographic commits crimes or this demographic commits crimes. It's not about the color of your skin. It is what it is. And if your demographic is doing most of the crime, common sense South Georgia boy here, then you got to address that it's going on. Transgender situation, same thing. You got people out there, because there's so much transgender violence going on right now. It's exploding on our country. But to say that, people will scream at you and say, "Oh, you're just being homophobic, and you're just attacking transgenders, and you have no decency." And no, it's not. There's no pattern about this. And every last time we've had a shooting, every time we've had some kind of attack on a facility, an institution, a school, a church, guess what they've been? They've been transgender. There's nothing racist about saying that. But I don't know what it is that we do not get in this world, in this country. That what we're dealing with here is not, it goes back to your point, actually. Same thing with the Dems. We saw their colors Tuesday night. What makes us think that they're going to handle anything fairly? They don't care about our country. They don't. And if they take power, God help us all, because they're as good as threatening the mega community tonight. They're threatening corporations. But that's just McDonald. Any questions tonight? If you don't have any, we're going to say goodnight. Elaine, I want to go to your statement. You had some good statements a while ago. Pat and Deb, good to see y'all tonight. Y'all asked a question a while ago. You said that you think that Iran may have a couple of nukes we don't know about. I'm going to lean to no on that, because I think if they did, they would be, I'm not saying so sure they would use them, But I do believe that they would be using them to blackmail Israel with. They would hold the Middle East hostage. So I'm going to lean for right now on no. I hope you're wrong. I think our CIA and our FBI and our NSA agencies here are on top of that. And I think if there was any kind of information out there that they were, I think we would act on it quick. I do. One of the things Brad Johnson talked about with us about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years, was the Gina Haspel fiasco. And one of the things that Gina Haspel did, she ended the overseas spy program. And now they're doing everything from a desk. And Brad said those spies that, and again, not to be funny about it, but James Bond actually was needed. You needed James Bonds out there. Brad was one, actually. He would go into these theaters. He would go into places like Iran and see what was going on in these countries and get intel to send back to headquarters and say, hey, they're building a bomb. And I think that the chances of them having one and us not knowing about it are a little higher tonight than they would have been 2 or 3, 4 years ago. But I'm going to lean toward no right now. I hope I'm right and you're wrong. Nothing personal. It's a good question. I'm not saying they don't, but I'm leaning toward no because I think we would have already done something about it. I think there would have been more, the military action in the summer of last year would have been more intense than just a strike had they thought that they had something. So that's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Elaine, your statement about Epstein was excellent. I want to read that. You said maybe they will have proof if they find any films of all these people with underage persons. I'm betting that Epstein had films, and those films have been destroyed just like Hillary's phones. Elaine, that's an excellent point, and I totally 1,000% agree that there were videos. I'm sure, because he was such an arrogant, he was the type, he reminds me a little bit of Hunter Biden. If you've ever seen a documentary on Epstein and listened to him talk, there was an arrogance in him that it was like he was entitled to do the things he was doing with these girls. And he had an arrogant feeling that he would never get caught, that this was something that he would get away with because he had so many people in high places. And I think blackmail, was it Dennis? You said that he was blackmailing these people? That I don't doubt. He's probably likely blackmailing Prince Andrew, blackmailing Mendelssohn, the UK ambassador over here, all of them. Larry Summers has resigned. There's another Harvard professor resigned tonight over these ties. They're going to tell him what he had on him. I guarantee he had stuff on Bill Clinton, but you can't prove it. Because if you ain't got no videos, you can't just say, well, we know for a fact that he was black. We don't know for a fact. I think if you're just sitting around a table with a cup of coffee and a Coke talking about it, I think it's a fair assumption. If we looked at each other and said, do you think he was doing it? I would say yes, but I would also say you got to prove it. And I think, Elaine, to your point, we may never be able to prove it for that very thing. They've probably been destroyed. And that much makes all this so complicated and hard, and he's dead. Ain't like you can dig him out of the grave and say, hey, Jeff, did you make some videos we need to know about? He gone. The person that could bring this whole thing down, she was actually sitting in a prison about 50 miles east of me in Tallahassee, Florida for a while. They've moved her out to Kansas now. And that's Ghislaine Maxwell. It's Ghislaine Maxwell. If Ghislaine Maxwell ever finds religion and never comes to Jesus and says, I'm ready to talk, I think that there's going to be some major, then that would be what would break this thing wide open. Right now, all we've got is a circus. All we've got is a circus, and we've got a show on DC. But I think that's a great question, Elaine, and I think it's a good statement. Chris Davis says, do you think this Iran thing is going to lead to anything bigger? Chris, when you say bigger, I will tell you this. I think Jeemes made a great point. The longer we let this fester, the more we increase the chance of a regional conflict. And I think that's, I think his point about Trump wanting an out was well taken tonight. I think Trump wants some kind of victory in this, but he cannot get it if Iran don't budge and don't negotiate, they're not negotiating. Wyckoff and Jared Kushner left that meeting with nothing. There is, in fact, if anything, from what I've heard, Iran basically told us that they're not going to give up their ambitions whatsoever. And that's what Trump's wanting, and it's not going to happen. So it's going to leave him with a choice. We either confront it militarily. We've already strangled him as much as we can. We were hoping, I'm sure Trump was hoping that this uprising was going to topple the government, and the Ayatollah isn't hiding. But let me tell you what they did. They killed nearly 46,000 people. This is a brutal regime. This is an apocalyptic regime. And if they'll kill 46,000 of their own people, don't think for a second they wouldn't do something major to make the whole Middle East go up in smoke, because they would. And they will. I believe they will. I may be wrong. It's what makes them different than any other enemy America has right now. You know, the Chinese, the Russians. I'm not so sure about North Korea and the crazy Kim Jong-un, but any enemy we've got, there is a thing called mutual destruction, the pact of mutual destruction. In other words, we got enough nukes to, if we send our nukes, you're going to send yours over here, so we kill each other. So that's why we're going to come to an agreement as to why we don't need to nuke each other. The Iranians are not like that. They don't care. They just soon nuke you as look at you. And to the Dolan's point, that's why I lean to the fact I don't think they've got a nuke yet. But I can't put my hand on a Bible and say I'm 100% sure of that. I think that there's been a lot of gaps in our intelligence with the Biden years, and who knows? We better be praying, is all I got to say. We better be praying for the peace of Jerusalem, which means pray for the soon coming of Jesus. Because that's what we need to be doing. That's what we need to be doing. It's good to see everybody tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. And Stephen, they do have chemical weapons. I do believe they do, yes. Carol, your question is a great point. Who does the Dems dislike the most, the country or Trump? That is an outstanding question. I wish I could get in the mind of these apes, but I can't. I would almost put money down on Trump. Honestly, I think there is such a Trump hatred because he has put them in their place. What he did to them Tuesday night was humiliating. Look, when CBS, I think I've got this poll here. Yeah, right here. This was like, you got to be kidding me. This is the Constant Bull something network. 75-25. People approved his speech. 75-25. And that's not just the right-wing mega movement. That's independents. And I'm not so sure that ain't some Democrats. I mean, I'm telling you, that's a huge number. I mean, and it wasn't coming from Fox. So when the Dems see this, they have to put a boogeyman on while they're sinking in the polls like the Titanic. And I think it was all about Trump. I don't think it was, if you got these Dems individually in a room and talk to them, I think some of them hate this country. I think some of these, like Tlaib and Omar, they don't care for America. They want to see America go down. They believe they're an apartheid state. All this white privilege stuff and this woke stuff, this gender mutilation stuff. These liberals that are doing this, it's just a demonic stronghold in their heart, a demonic mindset. We sort of talked about that this morning in the Bible study. Their hearts are so darkened they can't see past their nose. But I think that, to answer your question, what do I think is driving them? I'd put money down as Trump. It's a good question. We might make that a question. We might make that a poll question. Good to see Gail Staten in the house. Good to see you. Stephen, go back to your point. Could Iran have chemical weapons? I would say that they could. And I do believe that they possibly have them. If I'll answer your question like I answered the Dolans. If they do have chemical weapons, Trump did not let Syria have them. And he sure ain't going to let Iran have them. I tend to lean toward no, and I said a while ago they do. I should have rethought that question a little bit better. I'm going to lean toward no, and I'll tell you why. If they had them, they'd use them. Again, I go back to the apocalyptic mindset of this regime. They don't care. They don't care if 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 20,000. They hadn't cared about 46,000 of their own people, so they sure ain't going to care about 46,000 Israelis or 50,000 Americans, or they don't care. So I'll lean toward no, but I'm pretty sure they're probably trying to get them like they're trying to get those nukes. It's a good question. It's a good question. And it's good to see everybody in the house tonight. Looks like Lex Montgomery's in the house. Good to see you. It is end time stuff. And good to see you, Jason Rankin, my dear buddy up in Ohio. Jason, good to see you tonight. God bless you, buddy. Dennis says, I think they hate the U.S. more than Trump. They want us gone, and Trump is just in their way. Dennis, you may be right. Trump may be in their way. You know, that's a great question. I mean, Carol's question is a thought-provoking question. We might need to think about that over the weekend. Who do they hate the most, Trump or the U.S.? May talk about that next week, actually. It's not a bad question. I believe it's Trump. You may be right. It may be America. I don't know. And I think you're right. Trump is in the way. He's in the way a big deal. He's in the way a big deal. We got video we're going to play, but it's late tonight. It's Friday night. I'm so grateful to see everybody. And we hope that you had a good time with the show tonight. Carol, you're right. They definitely dislike mega supporters. They do. We put him there, and they've as good as said that. Susan Rice was out there saying this week that there's going to be payback coming to the supporters of Trump, and if you're a supporter, you're going to pretty much be hunted down, fake power. So I think that may be a part of this equation. Without a doubt, not happy with us, that's for sure. Did you enjoy the show tonight? If you did, put some fire in that house. James Akers hit a grand slam tonight. It's always a pleasure having him. It is late tonight. I'm going to let you go. Listen, we will see you back here Sunday morning. No show tomorrow unless the world ends. And I'll put it like this. If McDonald comes on tomorrow, we're in trouble. Because I'm taking the day off. I've been working hard this week, and we're going to spend some time with my sweet wife this weekend and my kids. And Sunday morning, if you're in the North Florida area, Christian Covenant Church, 2201 Finley Avenue. You can't miss it. If you go down in Grand Ridge and turn down Finley Avenue, the church is right there. There's the only church on that road. But Finley Avenue, Grand Ridge, we will be there Sunday morning, the 1st, and we're also going to be there March the 8th. On Sunday morning. We're helping fill in. The church is going through a little bit of transition right now, and that is the church that we pastored back in 1989 for 2 years, and we were very honored about 5 years ago now, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It's been 7. I can't believe it's been that long. 2019, they asked us to come back, and on the 30th year anniversary of me being there, they asked me to preach homecoming, and we preached 2 years in a row, and they've had other speakers since then. But got a call this week, and I'm doing this to sort of help the church and encourage the people right now because they need it. But please be praying for us Sunday, but it will not affect our Sunday morning programming. We'll be here probably early Sunday morning to be an abbreviated Sunday morning service. But we'll have a full service Sunday night. You'll get some faith here. Trust me. We're going to try to air the service from down there, but it's in the country area, so it's going to be a poor signal. But if we get a good signal, we'll try to blare it out somewhere. But listen, we appreciate you being with us tonight. So grateful for you as an audience. We hope you've enjoyed these shows this week. We've got a great lineup next week. It'll all kick off Monday night with Ricky Wilson, and then we've got a Purim special, and we got some other specials coming next week. And the month of March is going to be filled with some riveting stuff. So stick around. You're in a good place to be for some good programming, some great guests, just like my dear buddy, Jeemes Akers, and put some fire in that house. May the Lord bless you tonight. God bless you. God bless your families. Have a great night, everybody. A great weekend. God bless the United States of America. Pray for Israel and the situation in Iran. If something breaks, we'll be back here with you when it does. And we'll keep you posted, okay? Check our Telegram rooms out. Until then, McDonald out on a Friday night. And it is still Friday. Have a good night. See you Sunday.